All right, let's dive right into I think one of the biggest moments in human history.
Right.
Right, the Apollo 11 mission. We're going to
Absolutely.
relive those first steps on the moon.
It's amazing, over 50 years since we first stepped on another world.
Yeah.
And it's still just as amazing today as back then in 69.
For sure. Sure. So 1969, the space race is on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And President Kennedy says, hey, we got to get to the moon before the end of the decade.
Yeah.
Talk about pressure.
Big time. But, Kennedy's challenge,
Yeah.
it wasn't just about, beating the Soviets. It was about, pushing ourselves to see what we could really do. When we really set a big goal, what can humanity achieve? And that's really the spirit of Apollo 11, I think.
It's amazing that one speech really kind of set the whole thing on fire.
Yeah.
But Apollo 11, you said, it wasn't just about planting the flag.
Right.
There were mission objectives beyond that.
Absolutely. There were experiments, taking pictures, gathering samples. And the crazy thing is, we're still looking at the data from Apollo 11 today.
Wow.
It still informs how we understand the moon.
Really?
It formed, how it's changing. It's incredible.
So Apollo 11's still, scientifically relevant.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow. That's pretty incredible.
It shows the impact, the long-term impact of that mission.
Yeah.
It really does.
It's not just about getting there.
Mm-hmm.
It's about what we learn and how that changes our view of the universe.
For sure. Well, speaking of the journey, let's meet the crew.
Okay.
We got Commander Neil Armstrong, Lunar Module Pilot Buzz Aldrin, and Command Module Pilot Michael Collins.
Right. Three names everyone knows.
Yeah.
And, of course, the backup crew, too.
Oh, yeah.
James Lovell, Fred Hayes, and William Anders.
They were vital to the mission's success, even though they didn't actually get to go.
Man, can you imagine, training that hard and then somebody else gets to take the big trip?
I know.
Mixed feelings there.
It really shows their dedication, though.
Yeah.
That they knew it was about the mission, no matter who was flying.
Okay, so it's July 16th, 1969. The whole world's watching. And that Saturn V rocket.
Oh, yeah.
This massive thing.
A beast.
Launches from Cape Kennedy, Florida.
Yeah.
Taking Apollo 11 and, the hopes of humanity, I guess you could say, with it. What a moment. I mean, what do you think's going through their minds at that point?
I can only imagine. It must have been adrenaline, focus, but also just awe, years of training, and then that moment they were going where nobody had gone before.
And back on Earth, millions of people are watching this on TV. It must have been like watching the future happen,
It really was. It was something that it brought the world together. I think everyone was focused on Apollo 11.
It really did.
Going to the moon.
Yeah. And Pasted Text talks about, the different stages. You got Earth orbit, then trans-lunar injection to get them toward the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, they gotta get into lunar orbit. Each stage, really complex, risky stuff.
Oh, yeah. And this was the early days, right?
Yeah.
The tech was good, but also new. Every stage was kind of a leap of faith. The calculations, the engineering, the astronauts' skill, it all had to work perfectly.
Yeah, it's amazing the precision it took.
Yeah.
I mean, not just getting there, but getting there safely with enough fuel,
Absolutely.
to do what they needed to do.
And that brings us to July 20th, 1969.
Okay.
The Eagle, with Armstrong and Aldrin, they're getting ready to separate from the Columbia, leaving Collins to orbit the moon alone. While they attempt the most dangerous landing probably in history, can you imagine? That feeling, Armstrong and Aldrin.
Yeah.
Going down to the surface, the whole world's watching, all that pressure.
And they couldn't just use, GPS to land, right?
Oh, no. This was way before GPS.
Yeah.
They had radar, lunar maps, their calculations.
Wow.
And it was, totally new territory.
Right.
No landing strips, nothing.
So they had to, figure it out as they went.
Basically, Pasted Text says Armstrong actually had to take over manual control at the last minute.
Oh, wow.
There was a crater. He had to steer around it to find a good spot to land. Talk about nerves of steel.
That must have been a crazy moment.
Oh, yeah. But their training paid off.
Yeah.
They landed in the Sea of Tranquility. Yeah. A bit off target.
Right.
But safe.
Just landing on the moon at all, even a little off, that's incredible.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
The engineers who designed the lunar module, the astronauts flying it, amazing skill.
So then, after 4 hours, they get ready and It's the moment Neil Armstrong steps onto the moon. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
I get chills just thinking about it. It wasn't just about America and the Soviets anymore.
Yeah.
It was humanity achieving something amazing.
To be Armstrong in that moment, look back at Earth.
Yeah.
This little blue dot.
I know.
Knowing you're the first one there.
Wow. Must have been powerful. And then Aldrin joins him. They plant the flag, take in the lunar landscape.
But they weren't just there to, look around.
Oh, no, they had work to do.
Yeah.
They collected over 47 pounds of moon rocks.
Oh, that's a lot of rocks.
Scientists are still studying them today, learning about what the moon's made of, its history.
And they did those experiments, right?
Yes, the ESEP.
ESEP, Early Apollo Scientific Experiments Package. What was in that?
Bunch of instruments to study the moon.
Okay.
Seismometer for moonquakes, solar wind spectrometer, and a laser reflector, still used today to measure the distance from Earth to the moon.
So we're still getting info from ESEP.
Yep. Decades later.
Wow.
The Apollo program really planned for the long term.
Yeah, they did. Amazing. But, they couldn't stay forever.
Right. After 21 hours, it was time to go back to the Columbia.
And that had to be tricky, too, really.
Oh, yeah. Getting off the moon, back into the Eagle, then rendezvousing with Collins in orbit.
I bet that docking maneuver was not easy.
Not at all. Precision flying,
right.
Lunar orbit,
yeah,
limited communication. And if they messed up, well.
Yeah, no pressure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shows how much they trusted each other, their training.
Yeah.
Every astronaut had to do their part perfectly.
So once they're back in the Columbia, they do what, like a trans-Earth injection to get them home?
Exactly, the TEI, a big engine burn to escape the moon's gravity, send them back to Earth. And then a few days to relax, I guess.
Right.
Check the systems and probably think about what they'd just done.
Talk about a story to tell. So, finally, July 24th, 1969. After almost 1 million miles.
953,054 to be exact.
Apollo 11 splashes down to the Pacific.
Near the USS Hornet. Safe, sound, and heroes.
Can you imagine that feeling? The relief, knowing you did it. Conquered the moon, came home.
It was a win for America, but really for everyone.
Yeah.
Showed what we can do when we work together.
It was a big moment. And when we look back at Apollo 11 today, it's not just the tech, right?
No.
It's the human side of it.
The bravery, the dedication, the urge to explore that got those 3 men to the moon and back.
It's a story that still inspires us, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Shows us that nothing's impossible.
Yeah.
If we dream big enough and really work at it.
And it's not over,
What do you mean?
Apollo 11, it was just the start. Yeah. We're looking at going back to the moon, moon bases, Mars missions, who knows what else.
So Apollo 11, it's like it planted a seed that's still growing today.
Inspiring new scientists, engineers to keep exploring.
Yeah, it's kind of wild, Yeah. Started as this Cold War thing, but it turned into something, I don't know, like a victory for everybody, right? It wasn't just about winning a race anymore.
No, it was about redefining what's possible.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how that one mission, that giant leap, it changed how we see ourselves, our place in the universe.
It's true. I mean, before Apollo 11, the moon was just up there, this thing in the sky. But after, we'd have been there. It was part of, human experience now.
Our minds expanded, not just, physically going further, but mentally, too. If we can do that, what else can we do?
And that's a question that, we're still asking, right? Apollo, it wasn't the end. It was just the start.
Totally. We're talking about going back to the moon, right? Setting up bases, going to Mars even. Who knows what's next?
So it's like Apollo 11 planted this seed, and it's still growing.
Exactly. It's still inspiring people today.
Yeah. Scientists, engineers, anyone who wants to explore.
And it's important to remember, Apollo 11 wasn't just robots and computers. It was people who made it happen.
Their dedication, how smart they were, how they all worked together.
Right. It shows what we can do when we all kind of pull in the same direction.
So as we kind of finish up our look at Apollo 11, what are some of the biggest things that stand out to you?
I think it's just how audacious the whole thing was. They wanted to go to another world, and they did it. Human ambition, ingenuity, teamwork, it all came together.
And the importance of science, too, right? We learned so much from Apollo 11, about the moon, about Earth, even about ourselves.
Exactly. It reminds us that exploring, finding things out, that's crucial to understanding, everything, the universe, our place in it. Exploration pushes us to invent new things, learn more, and it keeps that inspiration going for future generations.
Well said. So I guess as we wrap up our deep dive on Apollo 11, one last thought for our listeners. What are the giant leaps today? What challenges are we facing that need that same, I don't know, spirit like Apollo 11 had?
That's a good question, one for all of us to think about. But I think that spirit of Apollo 11, it's still alive. Yeah. And everyone who wants to dream big, push boundaries, explore the unknown, who knows what incredible things we'll achieve in the years to come.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this amazing trip back to the moon. And until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those big questions, and keep reaching for the stars.